All right, we are live after a slight pause. We are in Simulation Talk 209. Welcome, everyone. So good to see everyone. See everybody in the house. Owl Guru, Chris, Ebony, how are you guys? Jessica, KLGD, Blue Rooster. So good to see everyone. And we have people joining on TikTok. Estrada, El Chumuco. Happy Man. I like the handles today. What's up, Johnny? Bob, how are you? Gary, how you doing? JH, okay. I'm excited. This is great. Wait, is this our light? This is our light. Wonderful. How are everybody doing? Let me move this back a little bit. How are you guys doing? How was everybody's week? Charlie, how are you, my man? Oh, yeah, I'm going to keep doing those. I was just on a boat for a week and the reception was okay, but you know what? It was just not the right emphasis. I wanted to spend the time that I was there to spend with the people that I was there with. And we are back now. What's up, Dr. Luke? Good to have you. As always, working. I'm always honored that people of a certain caliber join, as well as everybody else. What's up? Hey, Juby. Octave. I don't know what that is. Well, welcome to Simulation Talk 209. Noav. Let's see what we can dive into today. Today we also have the community live right after this, which is wonderful. I'm always very excited about towards those. And we've been, well, I guess we do them once a week, but if you're not a member, feel free to join that live by joining our membership program on YouTube on Dango Thoughts. If you're not a member, come join us, Dango Thoughts on YouTube. And Zoom calls are from the second tier and up, but the community members live, weekly live, aside from the daily live, is for all members. So as long as you join being a member, you will get access to that. And excited to see you there. We go much more in depth into subjects and we break things down. And I think I'm actually working on I guess I don't know if you want to call it a course, but there's going to be some content that has to do with just the way that I reason about things, and I think it can be helpful for some people. And I'm going to be putting it out there. So some of the lives that we're going to be doing on for members, I think will include that information. It's not that it's a secret; it's just much easier to do when there's less people and there's more targeted attention. And of course, join our Discord. Thank you for reminding us, Ebony. Our Discord is both listed right now on the chat on YouTube, and it is on my main YouTube page. If you go to the third link from the top, you will see it. Okay, so we are here. Been watching your past live streams in 2x. I'm halfway through them. Whoa, that's commitment, Charlie. I'm kind of blown away and honored that somebody would do that, but I guess you're going to be an expert on my general shtick. MRT saying the molecule X in Colorado application now 10,000 acceptable, absolutely insane pricing. What does everyone think of that? I think considering the amount of things that you have to do in order to have something like that running, including FDA approved, I'm pretty sure that 10 grand is not that much money. I mean, yes, it's expensive for most people, but for what it is, it's also not just a, I don't think it should be a price tag where anybody can just walk in like a red light therapy thing and just jump into something like that. I think anybody who is willing to partake in something like that needs to do a lot of preps, including, I think, needing to be able to like put in the money. But I think economically it doesn't make sense. The center does need to sustain itself. I don't know how they're justifying it, because if they're just having people pay money, then it's no longer research. Or maybe they can say it's research, but you technically charging people money. So yeah, I don't know how they're justifying this to the FDA, but I don't think that 10,000 is too high for what it is. But I agree that it's just expensive for most people. That I would agree. It's kind of like, complaining about that a ticket to space is very expensive. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into making that happen. So I understand that. Don't forget that you have medical facilities, you have access to professionals around you, you have to pay everybody. The facility itself costs money. You don't do this every day. So when you already do it, it has to justify itself. So how did everything go on the private boat trip? Yeah, I don't think it's a big secret, but I was invited by Omani Carson, who used to be known as Ron Carson from the Carson Group. They're a big financial management company, but Omani, well, the reason Ron, the founder, the CEO, changed his name to Omani is because he had a big awakening. He's one of the people that I'm kind of using as a point of reference to tell you that a lot of people with influence and power and money definitely have their hearts in the right place, and they're putting their efforts into trying to help humans as much as possible. But all of these things have to be self-sustainable, obviously. So somebody who understands business, somebody who understands finances is a good person to play that role. And he kind of brought pretty heavy hitters in terms of not talking about myself, just talking about people that are already very successful in what they did in their life. And it's almost like a think tank to help accelerate certain processes that are happening in the world right now. And how do you create a self-sustainable system that does that, which is a real problem to be solved. And I was honored to be invited to something like that. More than anything, it was just kind of, relax and get to know people a little bit better. But these kind of things definitely give me enormous faith in the future of humanity. And he's not the only one. I met a few other people that do that. Anton Bilton, who's also was the first one of the first subjects in the molecule's name X in Imperial College in London. He was also one of the original investors, also very powerful and yeah, there we go, and influential person that putting his attention in the right place. And so that and again, they're not alone. You'll be surprised how many people of a certain level of success in life, I guess, what we would deem as successful from the old paradigm, are understanding that ultimately what we want to aim for is a world that is filled with balance and everybody gets to partake in the game in the best way. So that's what I was doing, and I think I'll be talking more about that in the members group, and also I'll be releasing more stuff in the members channel on YouTube. Let's see. We have some questions. Yeah, questions in the Discord would be wonderful. Thank you for the question, Charlie. What do you say? I can just keep hitting my vape in the space. Yeah, it's not quite the same. I'm sure you're joking, but it's not quite the same. Hey, they created the facilities, they got the permits, and they're justified to put a price tag on it. So we don't have to partake. I completely understand that. I don't think it should be for anybody, honestly. That's just my take on it. And also, I think Bradley is saying a very important point. He's saying it's not going to be that price forever. It's true. You jumpstart something, you kickstart something with higher price tag, and then slowly you bring it down to something that is much more accessible to more people. Documentary, end of the year. Thank you for the question. Well, the secret, I think, is already out. It's just a question of. It's just a question of. Thank you, Truth on the Track. I appreciate you. Oh, evil icons in the house. I should have known by the really cool hairdo that I got. What's up, Jamie? I think we said hello to everyone. How are everybody doing? Yeah, I love this one. Ah, you did read where the money goes. Cool. Where does the money go? I don't even know. MIT is saying I'm looking for a new Yamaha T700 motorcycle. And it's over 10,000 out the door. Think I'll get that one instead. Sounds like it's a lot more fun and you'll enjoy it for a lot longer. But if somebody here is selling Yamaha T700 and is willing to give MRT a discount, you can save that money for the next Colorado trip. How can you tell when messages from hyperspace are more official? That is a great question, Charlie. Wow, you're really becoming knowledgeable of what I've been talking about in the lives. Um, how do you know? There's a certain signature to it. There's a certain feel to it. There's a certain way that it appears. It's kind of hard to say, but not really. It's when you get an official email from a company like from Apple, right? It looks a certain way. Now, I don't know if this is a good example because I'm not sure that emails from Apple look too extravagant, but you know what I mean. Like an actual address from the company, something that is official, even if it's just a message, there's a certain way it looks. Now, there's obviously a lot of people who are trying to take advantage and they're trying to make it better, their way that their scam emails look closer and closer trying to make it closer and closer to what the original looks like. But there is an original look, right? That's the point. The point is that there's a certain feel to it. And in hyperspace, there's definitely a lot more ability to make it so. Just because there's also certain regulations, from what I understand, that if somebody's trying to fake an official message in hyperspace, the price is very high. It seems like nobody's really crossing that. So there's like the policing there is very strict. There's certain things that nobody messes with. That's one of them, basically. And I did once got something in my console, some kind of an object. I was talking about that nice Xena's hair that looked even more official, so to speak. So it was like a higher pay grade, clearly arrived from some higher space than even what I'm usually communicating with. And that's I don't know if you heard me talk about this, but essentially at that instance I believed in heaven. The second I saw that object, it was like this sphere, I was immediately believed in heaven. I was like, okay, I believe in heaven. That's it. This, whatever this is, could have only come from heaven. It was that convincing and strong. But that's the best I can give you. There's a certain signature and feel to it. What's up, Evan? Do you have any thoughts on torus shapes? Why are they so prevalent in the molecule space? Do you see it a lot? Any thoughts on the torus? So I actually never seen a torus in the molecule space, not once. So I'm not sure how prevalent they are in that space. I do accept that people report them, just like they report any other, things. But I don't. What would be my thoughts as to why that would be the case? So first of all, I don't know it to be the case because I've never seen one. But yes, the torus has particular topological properties that are unique. And for example, the magnetic field follows the toroidal structure. There's, if you go, I think that the short answer is if you follow any tutorial about the topology of toroids, it will start making a lot of things. Uh, it will put light on a lot of things that we can understand because there's certain topological uh, surfaces that have unique properties that lend themselves nicely to particular emerging structures. Their stability, um, the fact that you have there's a way to tether something to it in a way they can't really leave, but yet you still have the what you would call the hole in the middle, right? But it's a very I would say that diving deeply into that might be an interesting thing to do, but maybe we can do that on the members live because it's a very it might take us towards like uh, rabbit holes, and that would I think it might take us a little bit too far afield. Are we in a hologram? I'm saying yes, and it is, by the way, decoupled from the claim of a simulation. Simulation does not have to be holographic, and a hologram does not have to be simulated. Those are not, they don't necessarily follow one another. What we are in both in a hologram and in a simulation. And by the way, Nico recently shared a video with me from Leonard Susskind. He's not the originator of the. Oh man, he's not the originator of the holographic principle, but it is definitely the physicist that made it the most popular. He popularized it the most, and he recently, in a conversation, said that he does not see the need, nor does he see what the idea of a simulation adds to our understanding of the world. And I am full agreement. It only adds if we have some kind of direct evidence, which is what I'm proposing that I brought to the picture, which of course is still contended, but and will be for quite a while. But I'm in full agreement that just as an idea, as a theoretical framework, simulation doesn't really add much, nor does it explain much. Just because it's then arbitrary, because you can postulate, then your guess is as good as anybody's in terms of why certain things are the way they are. Because yes, they would have certain logic, but some of this logic might be resting on some higher dimensional rules that exist in a higher dimensional mind that you then have to understand. And plus, you have to also explain who created these simulators and who created these simulators. So I'm in full agreement that it does nothing unless we have direct evidence of some sort. Simulation the definition of it would be a digital space, exactly, but it does not mean fake. A really good book to check out on the subject, Zach, is Reality Plus by David Chalmers, which decouples the notion that a simulation has to necessarily mean fake. We used to simulating things, so in terms of what we already know, and because we assume this is physical based reality, anything we simulate on top of it means not the real thing. Because of that, there's this coupling that our brains are doing, which we basically think of the word simulation equivalent to the word fake, but it isn't. It just means computationally rendered. If you then discover that the whole world is computational, not just ours, but in general, even outside of what we call our universe, then the word simulation just means a slice of reality, basically. But it's a very common confusion, and it's an understandable one as well. Wait, Dr. Luke is saying, I only see. MIT saying, "Oh, what the molecule X in like 1,000 for an hour, they'll want to share there longer than that." Well, it's not calculated by the amount of time you spend there. It's calculated by the amount of time that everybody needs to devote for your thing to happen, which means that it's at least a day of everybody's work, because there's a prep, there's an after, there's a operating and equipment, there's the rent that goes into it, there's the overhead aside from the rent. That things are not calculated just by the time that you're consuming whatever that is, and that doesn't work basically in any other way. Dr. Luke is saying, from the perspective of science fiction, never have such a clinical trial in Italy. Want to bet? All right, let's make a bet. I mean, a good bet. Let's bet something that by the end of 2026, we have a clinical trial of this kind in Italy, and you're involved if you want to be. Should we bet that? By the end of 2026. So it has to happen before the end of December 2026. Does that sound like a good bet, Dr. Luke? Do you work or know someone working on dream realms? Not directly. I have a friend who his PhD dissertation is around studying dreams and seeing if there's waves of dreams that express themselves throughout the world. But I'm not sure that's what you mean. I think you mean like more in the shamanic kind of thing, right? Is that what you mean? Unfortunately, Justin, I won't be talking about the console until I have more information. And at the moment, there's no more information. We joined any churches, support the spirit molecule as religious freedom. Yeah, we are attempting to do that. That would definitely help a lot. Nico, how are you, my brother? So good to see you, man. Can you see code and something holding water? Yeah, the glass of water actually helps. I have a few videos that are mentioning that. Привет, братан. Torus is a negative space between spheres in a 3D flower of life pattern. Trying to imagine that. I'm not really, my topology is not that strong, but I'm trying to imagine what would be the relevance of the flower of life 3D version and the negative space between spheres in a 3D flower. So you have a flower of life that is 3D. First of all, I want to envision that. Then you have two spheres in it. What does that mean? The two spheres in it. How does the hyperspace experience change it with shaman ritual versus without? For me, not at all. I could not put the suit on yet, but no, for me, the experience is basically the same. Infrared lasers, we haven't experimented with yet, but it's on the list. Thank you so much, Ebony, for mentioning it. Again, anybody who's new and is surprised by how slow I'm going through the messages, it's just how I am. There's no delay. Maybe there's a little bit of a delay, but it's more the delay in my brain. So I'm just trying to give as many messages, love as I possibly can. I'm in. Let's go, Dr. Luke. So we have decided here today, by the end of 2026, by December, we have molecule investigation in Italy, and Dr. Luke is involved. Let's go. Posted a Quaternion Explorer link in the live suggestion on Discord for exploring the sphere becoming the torus. Oh, thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate you. Well, let's manifest. Does anyone have the code to the Powerball numbers of this coming draw? Yeah, Ebony has it. Ebony, if you can give him the lottery numbers for next week. Thank you. This is one of the perks. If you join the lives, you win the lottery. There's no problem. We have that every week. What do you think of the counter-rotating magnets experiment on L? Have you recreated that experiment on the spirit molecule? Yes, and it did not work so far. There you go. Ebony gave us the lottery numbers for next week. It is 84, 72, 53, 42, 23, and 19. And what is it called? The extra number? Give us the extra number, Ebony. Again, it's 84, 72, 53, 42, 23, 19. These are the winning numbers for next week's lottery. And Ebony, in a moment, will give us the extra, the special number. Needless to say that if you win, please share 10% with Code of Reality Inc. We'll do good with the money. The bonus number is 38. Thank you, Ebony. Appreciate you. You're welcome. Hi, Dr. Luke. Can you use Kindle light through a slit or a double slit to see the code instead of a laser? No, just because it seems that the laser is the only way to see the code. Now, can you do the double slit experiment with candles? I actually don't know. I never. Hold on. Can we do the double slit experiment with regular candlelight? I would assume no, but I don't see any reason why. Well, you can technically attempt a double slit experiment with candlelight. It's not the ideal setup, and you're unlikely to see the clear interference pattern. There you go. Good question. What's up, April? Good to see you. Awesome, MRT. Hey, if you win, you can go to Colorado and do it as many times as you want, I think. What happened to the code if you move the surface? The laser light is on. What happens if you spin the surface? I don't remember. This question was asked before, and I don't recall what we did with that because we definitely projected it on surfaces. Oh, I'm gonna have Carter run this because he runs experiments a lot. I'm gonna ask him to do that. Something tells me my hypothesis will be that, you know what? It's a great question because it will answer a very fundamental question. Is what we're seeing in the space something that is independent of the wall, and the wall is just a way to bounce back enough light to see whatever that is? So if you're going to be using the surface, moving the surface and the light, and in both cases the code will remain where it is, that means that the code is on its own side, on its own some kind of a spatial place, and the wall is just a tool to bounce light back to see it. But if it's moving with the wall, with the surface, that means it is in the surface itself. It's part of the surface. That's again great question. Let me write it down. Great questions today. I'm very happy about this. Move surface during next test. See if the code moves. Amazing. Never done eyes open. Come on. You haven't lived. Think of revelation of the code with use of laser might be a frequency phenomena. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you can clarify. What do you mean by frequency phenomena? Jessica is saying, got a groovy idea. Those firework diffraction glasses. Uh huh. If you want to try daylight and candlelight gazing, there you go. You heard it here first, folks. Do you ever hear high pitched noise or have tinnitus during the after trip? Any thoughts on this high pitch frequency? Yes, I think it's definitely related. I was telling Aaron, the director of the film, the other day, which of course he kind of thought it was a little crazy, but usually, if I understand correctly, if you hear the ring in the left ear, whatever just happened, something changed. You know, like the cat in the Matrix when they saw the cat twice, and Neo said, "I just saw deja vu," and they said, "I saw the same cat," and they said, "How similar was the cat?" Because if you see the same thing twice, that means they changed something. So, from what I understand, the ring in your left ear is equivalent to that cat. They changed something. The ring in the right ear is pay attention. Is something is important right in front of you. Pay attention. So now I haven't gotten down to the science, but I've noticed almost every single time they kind of work. So like something fundamental shift. Like if you would hear the ring in the left ear, usually you might experience a change in your mood that follows it pretty quickly, or some kind of a thing that all of a sudden would happen out of nowhere, and it's like, you know, in the right ear, it means your participation is required. Pay attention. Now I know it sounds super esoteric, and but you can test this. High pitch, yeah, kind of goes like all of a sudden, right? If you move the surface, the code moves. I've done it on the door and move the door, and the angle of the code changes. Interesting. Thank you, Evan. Evan, that's very helpful. That's actually a very fundamental question, actually. So thank you for pointing it out, and thank you for sharing, Evan. Have you filled out a report, Evan, by the way, on the website? Have you seen improved results with red laser enhancement glasses used in construction and astronomy? I have not. Wow, so many great things today. AJ, thank you so much. Okay, writing it down. I don't even know what those are, honestly. Red light enhancement glasses. Okay. Jessica concurs. She thinks it's a sound of awareness, mind waves, and blood pressure and sonic waves. Very possible. High frequency in your ears for 2 years. Both of them? That might be tinnitus. And don't rule out the possibility that it's a condition. I know people have all kinds of explanations for it, but sometimes it's just a condition, unfortunately. Who's there? High pitch usual. Have I got any cheat codes for this simulation? Yeah, be kind. That's one of the greatest cheat codes. Be kind and be grateful. Jessica is saying, try listening to it and see if you can smooth it out. Find coherence by matching your breath to your heart. Love it. Try it. Always thought you were downloading updates, Mike Brighton is saying. That's also possible. Do you feel like the code is a test that civilizations must solve before they are accepted into the galactic population? Basically, yes. Charlie, you're right on the money. I linked high frequency to the toroidal field. It's only thing would make sense for me after digging 2 years. High frequency to I don't sorry, Dr. Drawson. I don't quite understand the message. If you can retype it. MRT is saying, funny, my ears start to ring just before I know I'm going to hit my pen. Every time this happens. Of course, it's different than the tone I hear after the first hit. That's very useful, actually. 42 viewers. You can measure it also and notice the patterns of the frequency. Protocol, thank you so much, Ebony, per usual. What happened to the microphone? Do you hear me less good? Did you know there's a way to transfer thoughts to film? It's called photography. Maybe this can be used to get pictures with a code. So I've heard of this, and I know that there was some talk about Tesla doing this. I've never seen this in action. I think it would be much more prominent if it would be possible. Again, I'm always very open, but at the same time, skeptical of things that people claim, and there's no examples of it. YouTube is a good example of a place where you can find basically anything. And if there's something you cannot find on YouTube, most likely it does not exist. But I'm open to see it. Not an explanation of it, a demonstration of it. The thing is, with all these claims, they're very easy to substantiate. Some of these claims are extremely easy to substantiate. And this excuse that science doesn't want you to know simply doesn't track because it's not what science does. So if somebody has an ability to demonstrate something like this, they should be able to do it very easily. Kindness follows gratitude, zero effort. I would agree with that. DWalt DW. Thank you so much. I'm going to look it up. DWalt DW0 714. Cool. It sounded like something was rubbing against the microphone, but you weren't touching it. Very strange. How do you know I wasn't touching it? All electric field emerges from a 4D sphere in rotation through hyperspace, becoming a torus within another dimension where the electric and magnetic fields are anything spherical with rotation. I love you, Jessica. Ted Sirius was famous for photography photos. It doesn't matter. So it shouldn't be one person famous for it. It should be just a thing that happens, right? Let's see. Oh, yeah. I did read this before. I also read that a lot of this was bunk. And there was a whole way of debunking this. Again, examples of one person doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. It's just that they're much less likely to be anything like that and more likely to be a misunderstanding or some issue with the methodology. I'll be the first one to be very open to these things, but I'm also not interested in putting too much effort into something that clearly on the surface doesn't work. I've read this before, but I also read all the debunking stuff, so I'm not really sure where that lands. But if it was only one person, then most likely it's not real. The Microsoft HoloLens uses light projected into the eyes to form holograms. Can you use the HoloLens to better see the core? I'm not really sure how that would work because you have a projection of something in HoloLens, right? So you have content projected, which means you have to have access to the content to project. Now, if we're projecting not from the device itself, but just bouncing light off of something that is already there, I don't know if the process is the same, but something to explore for sure. What's up, Wendy? Good. How are you? Pardon my ignorance if seemingly one might think untrustworthy, so to speak, it to be. But Don, oh, you mean Dan? Okay. Have you or do or might you have interest in none? Psychic Planet Medicine. Access asking. Uh, Not sure what you mean by that. What is a non-psych plant? What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you mean by that. No, I'm not saying it's not. There's no way it's real, Bradley. I'm not saying there's no way it's real. I'm saying usually one person being able to do something very well and nobody can reproduce this usually means there's a misunderstanding about the methodology. Usually. Asking a channeler. You mean about the information? So from what I understand, I'll be very straightforward. I basically do not accept that channeling is a thing. That's my position. I know that there's people that are putting a lot of stock in that. I'm not saying there's no possible information to be picked up from hyperspace, but I do not believe that there are other beings communicating through people. I just simply don't buy that at all. Simply because, from what I understand from hyperspace, it is not allowed. So nobody is allowed to give you information. That's not how it works. Again, full caveat, can I be wrong? Absolutely. But if you're asking me, Danny, my understanding of hyperspace is that nobody's allowed to give you information. When I was trying to figure out the laser, I asked many, many times, how do we do this? There's never an answer. And at the end, I also understood that this is basically we have a role to play. And if they give you too much information, they will be shooting you in the foot because you won't be able to survive. Just like if you help the chick to hatch the egg, the chick will not survive because it does not have the tools developed to survive in the new space. So nobody's allowed to give you information. That's first of all, from my understanding. So channeling would be a huge no-no just under that rule, right? But if you're talking about just discussions with this hyperspace, when I believe what happens to channelers is that they basically get into flow and they just pick up on information. It's not a being communicating through them. Is it possible that also a being would jump into somebody and do a thing? Yes, I think it's possible, but at least from what I'm seeing and people doing it, including Bashar, by the way, my position is that that's an act. It's not that they're lying, is that they're not aware that it's not a thing. It's just a thing that they're doing and they're calling it channeling. But that's just my position. So, who's here? Have I listened to telepathy tapes? Yes. Great content. Well, yeah, I'm simply not buying it. What do you think of Silicon Valley microdosing during computer revolution? I think it's great. We know that these substances can help arrange the information in the brain in such a way that to help you solve problems. This was researched pretty well. And by the way, Gary, I don't know if you heard me say this before on lives. One of the reasons that, for example, specifically with Bashar, he got my respect is because I've seen him in an interview where they asked him point blank. They asked him, wait, but is it really? The interviewer literally asked him, but is it really like that being Bashar? Like, is it an actual alien communicating through you? And Bashar's response was, I don't know. And I said, wow, okay, I can respect that. He said, I don't know. He said, all I know is that we have followed people after they came to my sessions, and we saw that there were positive changes in their brains after they experienced my talks. That I know. And we've been doing this for decades. I totally respect that. The fact that he said he doesn't know shows me that he's fully aware that it might not be what he says it is. And that I have full respect for. So to be super clear, what I am saying and what I am not saying. I'm not saying there's no information in hyperspace that can be utilized. Of course there is. I am not saying there's no any kind of communication happening between the spaces. Of course it's happening. All I'm saying is that this thing that Bashar and some people do when they close their eyes and they go, I am Ra, whatever that is. That's just a presentation that a person does with the information, but that's a theatrical presentation. It is not, an alien would not sound like that, right? If they're really alien. And I think that should be pretty clear. I've heard a voice twice. Daryl Anka, which is Bashar, has said to believe what you want and listen as you want. My voice was a male, I'm a female. It said, all is well, my child. Sure, but that is not, that is a communication coming with, that is happening with you, not like somebody jumps in your body and doesn't act, does starts talking, right? That will be a representation of you. That's what I'm saying. So Gary is saying a spirit rarely gives clear-cut info, but they can guide you in the right direction. Right, but I agree with that. But notice that with channelers, that's not what they're doing. They're speaking very cogently, very coherently, answering direct questions that people ask them. So that does not feel fit the description of what you just said. Thank you, Evil Icon. Wait, I thought you were here before. I saw you. Can you communicate with DAD through hyperspace on the spirit molecule? I've never seen spirits. The picture that emerges for me from hyperspace is very different. It's a super advanced civilization simulating the space as we speak. Part of it is the trajectory of all the different informational patterns that we are, electronic agents, so to speak. So I guess you can call them souls, but they're not what we think they are. They're almost like very, very extravagant hard drives, so to speak. So my entire image of what it is slightly different than what most people postulate. It's a lot more mechanical, not in the sense that it lacks soul. It's just in the sense that I'm seeing the functionality of it versus the experience of it. Must have been your event. Well, nice. I was dreaming and basically suffocating on my own tongue. My guides have to save me. Wake. Well, I'm glad they saved you, first of all. Again, just so everybody knows, because I never want everybody to think that if I'm saying something, even very in a convinced manner, it doesn't mean that I think that there's no way I'm wrong. Of course, absolutely. I'm just another dude with another opinion. Everybody has an opinion. That's my impression so far from everything I'm observing from the space, that basically there's no such thing because of certain technicalities that I see that are there. Can it be that I'm just receiving a portion of the channel that lacks that kind of a thing, and other people receive a portion of the channel that allows for that kind of a thing? Absolutely. I'm not here to burst anybody's perception of what they strongly believe is true. But I can only go by what I know, and I do. It's just my inner signature is that I do not accept anything that anybody else tells me. I can respect what they're saying, but I don't believe anything ever. It's just not part of how I operate. I don't know anything until I know it from my own personal experience. It's just how I operate. So if I've never experienced something myself, and I don't see any track in the world of it that makes sense, I simply don't accept it until that the instance in which it's fully substantiated in my mind. For example, one of the things that I have never experienced, but I fully accept that is there because a very particular kind of individual told me that without a doubt they can do it. What's up, Kami Ben? Is out of body experience. I've never experienced it before, or maybe I have and I don't know that that's what it's called. But as far as I know from people's descriptions, I've never experienced it before. And yet, I have a friend, Adam, who is very much like me in terms of like just critical thinking. Like he's very on it. Also, he's successful in life, so there's a track record of understanding of what works and what doesn't, and he's very open and at the same time skeptical. So because his signature is so similar to mine in terms of processing information, when he told me that he tried certain techniques and he managed to literally pop out his body and he described it very carefully to me, I accept. I believe that it's way more likely that it is a real thing than it doesn't exist, because of certain kinds of individuals. Simply their opinion and their impression holds more water. This is also the problem. What I'm always trying to outline to people, that if you tend to basically accept whatever it is, it's very difficult to rely on your say so, because you kind of accept everything, right? If you don't have strong critical thinking, it's actually hard to know where is it that you lose the plot, right? But if somebody tends to be not just skeptical forever, but just healthily skeptical of what they don't know, but then change their minds according to new information that comes in, a balanced view, then it's easier to trust the word of that kind of an individual and say, hey, you know what? I wouldn't expect them to accept it, but if they do, then there's a much, much higher chance that this is real. Yeah, he actually tried the Darius Wright method. So exactly there. I understand and respect your view, and yes, Bashar in general, sacred intangible medicine, understanding guidance is a yes, indescribable thing, and is mysterious, such as yeah. But so I'll tell you one example of where it's clearly kind of, even Bashar is kind of losing the plot, right? So one of the things that if I would be Bashar, I would stay away from is concrete truth claims that we can actually substantiate. Specifically, what I mean is that one time Bashar was asked about the pineal gland, which we know does not, I repeat, does not produce the molecule. It does not. We know that. Okay. A lot of people think so because it's a meme that is running around online. And when he was asked about it, he did talk about it from this higher perspective of an alien that knows a lot more than us. He talked about it in terms of, yeah, your pineal gland makes the molecule. So that shows you that he's drawing from the meme space, which is his human understanding, not the alien that knows more than humans, because the alien would know that's not what happens in humans, right? We know our lungs make it, the other parts of the body, but not the pineal gland. Okay, we know this pretty accurately, and he talked about it as if, yeah, it does make the molecule. So what I'm saying here is that should be an indicator for everybody that he's basically responding from a place of a human that is convinced by a certain meme space, not by a higher understanding of a being. This being would not be confused by what's on Twitter or Instagram, right? The being that is claimed to give us higher insights into this world would know this kind of information. And that's just a very technical question. There's nothing, it doesn't ruin anything spiritual, right? The certain parts of the body make certain things and other parts of the body don't make that thing, even if that thing is associated with something that we deem spiritual, because we associate the pineal gland with something spiritual because there was some of these postulations before, which is the meme. We tend to almost think of it as a sacred thing, and then we connect it to the structures and the way that it kind of looks and the way it appears in older, like in old Egypt, right? We think, oh, look, they were showing the pineal gland. We're showing the pineal gland. So it matches a lot of rhetoric that exists in the space that is devoted to believe this kind of stuff. The truth is always much more nuanced, of course. And if the pineal gland doesn't make the molecule, it's fine. It doesn't ruin the idea that there's something higher, right? But because people are kind of connected to these ideas, he caters to these ideas. I would imagine that if it was Bashar, the alien, he would not be a subject to this kind of a delusion that is basically a mass delusion. That's what a false meme is. It's a mass delusion. So why go there? Why make a claim that easily verifiable is true or not true? I would just kind of refrain and stay away from these kind of things, you know? Have I tried running again with the molecule? Great question, Charlie. No, have not tried after, but somebody did try after I told them that story about running and getting into a new space in the molecule space. Told me that when they would try, he tried to run in the mountains and smoked, and his heart rate, he had the Apple Watch, it tells you the heart rate. He said that the heart rate didn't go up at all. Like he was running like crazy, and he's a little older, so you would expect the heart rate to go substantially, and it didn't go up. So that's also interesting. Top April, do you see sacred geometry? It was my birthday week, and I saw rows of diamonds looking out a window, and ChatGPT said it was sacred geometry for a portal. So first of all, happy birthday. Let's start there. The truth is that I'm not sure what people mean by sacred geometry. Do you mean the kind of like the flower of life, things like this? If so, then ChatGPT. Wait, you saw it out of the window, and then ChatGPT said it was sacred geometry for a portal. What is the? What did you ask ChatGPT specifically? Where's he? Oh my god. I think with OBEs, some people just have blockages they need to work through first to be able to let go. But there's a lot of fear of losing control, of getting stuck outside the body. Sure, and I can tell you that I have none of these fears. Right? It might have nothing to do with blockages, but with certain predispensations or natural abilities that people have or do not have. Not everybody can jump as high. And it doesn't matter how much you're going to train, you might jump a little higher, but you might not never be able to jump as high as certain other people can. The idea that all abilities are automatically held by everyone, that's not true, right? And I don't see it any reason for it to be any different in the spiritual realm. You would have certain people with certain abilities and other people with lack of these abilities or inabilities. And I guess the only thing I'm to some degree resisting is the confidence with which people make claims about everybody without any serious study, right? And again, I know that people experiencing these things that manage to actually do one or two or three things like that, it gives them a lot of confidence and maybe they understand more than they think they do because they managed to do these couple of things and they sound very convincing because they are convinced, right? But it's simply not the case, and you can never make the case that you know with an absolute certainty that the ability that you have, others have it, unless you can demonstrate that basically everybody can have it, right? Or a very large percentage of the population can have it. And no, it is not the case that a very large percentage of the population can do this. A tiny, tiny, tiny minority of the population can do this. All I'm saying is that in order to know what is actually true, and if we want to make progress faster, we actually want to adhere to what is testable, still, even in the spiritual realm. Nico said ChatGPT also told the Italian Egyptologist that there are 8 columns and 2 energy reservoirs under. That is very correct. Okay, guys, so I'm gonna actually jumping off from this live because we have a members live. Anybody who wants to participate in this next live that is going to start in 20 minutes, please come join the members program on YouTube on Dango Thoughts. It includes these weekly lives for members only, aside from the daily lives, as well as Zoom calls with me, early access to all my content, and private videos from my life that will only exist in YouTube members and nowhere else. Oh, I see Boost Brave creators wanted to come up. no problem, brother. You can always come tomorrow, and I'll have a longer one, and around the same time. It's going to be around the same time, and I can bring you up. Also, if you want to tell me the subject matter that you want to talk about, it always helps because we can prep. Yeah. Thank you, Vilicon. And also can come join the YouTube members live. Please come join it. Thank you so much, everybody. If you want to follow me across platforms, it will be Danny Goller on TikTok and Instagram. It will be Goller Danny on X, LaserX83 on Twitch, and Dango Thoughts on YouTube. Dango Thoughts on YouTube. Come join the members program and come join or become just a follower. It's such a weird word. Not a follower. Follow the channel. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Peace and love, and see the members in 20 minutes. Ciao. Ciao, everyone. See you in a moment.